Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the absolutely staggering data pouring out of the 2026 World Cup quarterfinals. Look, if you've been following the tournament, you already know the energy has been completely off the charts. But when you actually peel back the layers, when you really look at the raw numbers these last few matches have generated, it paints a picture of a tournament that's quite literally rewriting the football history books right in front of our eyes. So, framing this at a macro level, we aren't just talking about a couple of exciting matches here. We're looking at a massive, systemic trend of teams pushing themselves to their absolute physical and mental limits. The sheer volume of late-game drama naturally forces us to ask, is this the most grueling, edge-of-your-seat World Cup we have ever seen? Well, the numbers make an incredibly strong case for a resounding yes.
Just take a look at this number, 8. We've seen a massive 8 knockout matches go to extra time, which ties the all-time record previously set back in 1990 and 2014. But hey, context is everything here, right? Those older tournaments only featured 15 total knockout matches. The 2026 edition has an expanded format with 28 knockout games, and yet the sheer frequency of these grueling 120-minute slow burners proves that the gap between these international squads has literally never been tighter. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going down with an absolute dogfight.
And to add to that sheer statistical madness, there have been 6 comeback wins in the knockout stages alone. That matches a record that has stood since all the way back in 1934. I mean, think about that for a second. For almost a century, knockout football has generally rewarded the team that scores first. But in 2026, a one-goal lead is practically meaningless. Teams are showing this incredible psychological resilience, completely refusing to roll over even when the odds are totally stacked against them.
Section 1. Argentina's Extra Time Mastery. Okay, let's dive into Argentina's grueling 3-1 extra time win over Switzerland. Now, the Swiss actually fielded their oldest quarterfinal starting 11 in over 60 years, averaging over 30 years old. But Argentina navigated those crazy momentum shifts to play their record-breaking 13th extra-time match in World Cup history. And what's really fascinating here is how they won it. This brilliantly illustrates a weird, fun microstat. Despite being the third shortest team on average, Argentina completely leads the tournament in headed and set-piece goals. It totally defies conventional football logic. You'd naturally assume a taller squad dominates the air, but Argentina has managed to score 3 goals from corners and is tied for the most goals from set pieces overall with 5. It just goes to show that intelligent positioning, perfectly weighted deliveries, and sheer tenacity can completely override a physical height disadvantage.
All of that aerial dominance and grit culminated in the 121st minute with Lautaro Martinez scoring the absolute latest World Cup goal in Argentina's entire history. When everyone else on the pitch is basically running on empty, dealing with heavy legs and pure exhaustion, Argentina somehow found an extra gear. Scoring a goal at the 121-minute mark isn't just about tactical execution anymore. It's a testament to the unyielding willpower of a team that is absolutely desperate to defend their crown. On the flip side, the immense pressure of trailing for the very first time in 11 matches clearly broke Switzerland, leading to Breel Embolo's incredibly rare sending off for simulation. Coming into this match, the Swiss hadn't trailed a single time across both their qualifiers and the final tournament. The exact moment they finally fell behind, their tactical discipline just fractured. Getting a second yellow for diving in a World Cup quarterfinal, that's virtually unheard of. He's only the 4th player in 60 years to suffer that fate. It perfectly captures how the crushing pressure of this tournament can crack even the most composed teams.
Section 2. Messi rewrites the record books. So, the crucial point of this match wasn't just the team advancing, but Lionel Messi absolutely refusing to yield to Father Time. Just when you think we've exhausted literally every superlative for this man, he drops a masterclass that demands we rewrite the history books yet again. Just look at this head-to-head comparison as Messi snatches the record right back from Mbappé for the most knockout round goal involvements in modern history. The whole narrative lately has been about the changing of the guard, right? Mbappé taking the throne. But with a tally of 15 knockout goal involvements, Messi reclaims that top spot, proving his ridiculous longevity and enduring impact on the biggest stage.
Let's just pause for a second and marvel at these microstats from a single match. In just those 120 minutes against Switzerland, he proved he's the first player since 1966 to hit 20 passes for shots across 3 different tournaments. He passed Diego Maradona to become the top assist provider with 10. He joined elite German company, guys like Seeler, Klose, and Mateus, by starting his 4th quarterfinal. And he's now been directly involved in an astonishing 13 goals in his last 8 knockout stage appearances.
He isn't just participating in these games, guys. He's completely dictating them.
But, the torch is also being passed. Julian Alvarez stepped right into a legend's shoes by tying Diego Maradona with 4 career knockout goals. This is a massive stat for Argentina's future. To see a young player like Alvarez already matching the knockout output of arguably the greatest icon in their nation's history, that shows Argentina isn't just relying on Messi's magic anymore. They've got a whole new generation stepping up and delivering when the stakes are at their absolute highest.
Section 3. England's Comeback Kings. Let's move over to the other side of the bracket and see how England's super dramatic 2-1 comeback over Norway builds on this whole theme of historic momentum. England has seemingly found this new, stubbornly resilient identity. Get this. They have matched their historical total for comeback wins in just this single tournament. Before 2026, England only had 2 comeback victories in their entire World Cup knockout history. One in the 1990 quarterfinal and one way back in the legendary 1966 final. In just the span of a few weeks this year, they've doubled that all-time tally. That is a massive psychological shift for a national team that has historically struggled when falling behind in major tournaments.
This historic push is really being spearheaded by Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham, marking the very first time a pair of English teammates have both scored 5 or more goals in a single World Cup. You always hear pundits talking about teams needing multiple attacking threats to win a World Cup, right? Well, England finally has exactly that. The synergy between a seasoned veteran striker in Kane and a totally dynamic midfield force in Bellingham is creating an offensive engine that's just overwhelming defenses.
Section 4. Bellingham chases Pelé.
Now let's focus on the heir apparent here. Jude Bellingham is accomplishing things on the pitch that command comparison to only the absolute greatest to ever play the game. Seeing Bellingham's name stacked right next to undisputed icons like Maradona, Garrincha, and Pelé on this elite list hits incredibly hard. To be the first player of any age to have 2 multi-goal games in a single World Cup knockout stage since Maradona in '86, that is just remarkable. This is basically the Mount Rushmore of World Cup dominance, and Bellingham has just carved his face right into the rock.
And check this out. He is the second youngest player ever to score multiple goals in consecutive knockout matches, perfectly matching Pelé's legendary tally of 7 goals before turning 24. For a midfielder to be producing these kinds of offensive numbers at his age is a total statistical anomaly. He's trailing only Kylian Mbappe on the specific under-24 metric, proving for sure that Bellingham isn't just the future of English football. He is out there dominating the present on the global stage.
Section 5. The climax of a historic tournament.
So, what does this heavy barrage of shattered records and jaw-dropping performances mean for the rest of this explainer's focus? Well, it means that only the absolute titans have survived. We are looking at a Final Four comprised entirely of former champions and top seeds for the very first time in over 30 years. Since the inception of the FIFA rankings in 1992, we've never seen the top 4 seeds lock out the semifinals quite like this. The wild unpredictability of the early rounds has been filtered down to pure elite pedigree. There are no Cinderella stories left here, folks. It's just heavyweights preparing to trade some massive blows.
Which brings us to our ultimate question. With records falling every single match and the torch hovering between generations, who is actually going to prevail? Will it be the seasoned grit of an older squad pushing through one final, grueling extra time? Or will the boundless energy of the rising superstars write the final chapter of 2026? What we do know for sure is that this tournament has already etched itself into history, and whatever happens next, we are incredibly lucky to be watching it unfold. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.